Hello, good morning again. Bom dia. Hope you had a great knowledge break, or coffee break, well, with knowledge as well, via our coffee area in Telegram. We are now ready for the next session, the KM role for environmental policies definitions, with Professor Amarilis Gallardo. She will be the moderator of this session. She's from Nove. And with her we have, again, because he was in the previous session as well, Professor Fredy Lopez from Universidade of Medellin, and also with Professor Tamar Trop from University of Haifa. So welcome all of you. And I would like just to comment that we have a survey open. I'm Renata Dalmaso from SBGC. We have a survey open in order to understand how knowledge management is in Brazil. So I would like to ask you to really go there to our our site, SBGC site, and enter and respond that questionnaire. It's very important for us to have a view of how knowledge management is in Brazil. That's it. We have a lot of parallel sessions today, very great sessions, very hard to decide which one to take, but just a reminder, everything will be recorded later on, so don't get stressed. You had the chance to take a look on it later on. So enjoy the session. Now I hand over to Professor Amarilis. Professor, it's with you. Thank you.
I want to know how many people are seeing us right now.
Not sure if I have this information. Let's see. Someone can help me? Marianne, are you there? Do you know how many?
No, but it's no problem.
Yeah, let's see.
If the number isn't...
We are online. Just a moment. Okay. So yeah, the Professor Amarilis is still coming. So we have a few seconds before. I forgot to mention as well, translating this session, we have the interpreters Fernanda and Cleito today. Sorry, I forgot your last name, guys. I think Mariana can send me also here. I can mention that. And so, as I mentioned, we have a lot of sessions, and we've been through this very, very intense days. This is the third one. Actually, the KM Brazil conference, we started this since the 25th of August with cases presentation, and we also had very interesting presentation regarding digital transformation and knowledge management evolution. Last Monday, we had a very practical workshop on knowledge management with Eduardo Carrara from Embraer. We had a lot of very good information on how to build a KM program. So we've been navigating to a lot of technical views from collecting speeches from a lot of technical views and a lot of practical views as well. And now, I see, now we have our moderator with us, Amarilis, Professor Amarilis, thank you. So I now hand over to you, and I will come back with the question, how many are logged in later on. Thank you, have a nice session.
Sorry, okay, now I am right. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, dear audience. Thank you, Renata, for introducing our meeting. Okay, my name is Amarilis Gallardo, and I am the coordinator of this panel. Welcome to our panel. Please name the DKM role for environmental policies definition. The environmental policy definition consists of an issue each day much dependent on a broad being of different knowledge, data, and indicator analysis. Concerning this situation, the role of knowledge management can be highlighted as the main actor of this knowledge border. In this way, the main purpose of this panel is to promote discussion about knowledge management's role as an essential tool for much effective and efficient environmental policy elaboration, always facing the imposed challenges by the contemporary societies. For discuss today with us this important subject, we have two very special keynote speakers. Thank you for you with us today. Let me introduce them. Professor Tamar Trop, okay? The pronunciation is correct. Professor Tamar, nice to meet you. Tamar has a Master of Science and PhD in Urban and Regional Planning from the Faculty of Architecture and Tall Planning and at the Technion, Israel. She's a lecturer and she's also a researcher in the Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Management at the University of Haifa. And she, the head of the ML cluster named the Management of Urban Sustainability. Her research interests lie in the area of sustainability, ranging from theory through policy design to planning and evaluation. Over the years, Tamar has gained an extensive professional experience in environmental planning and consulting to government ministries and authorities, local authorities, and NGOs. Thank you so much, Dr. Tamar, from here with us today. Let me introduce another keynote speakers, Professor John Fredy Lopez-Perez, Universidade of Medellin, Colombia. Encantada em conocerte, Professor Fredy. Es un placer tenerlo con nosotros aquí hoy. Professor Fredy is sociologist. He is a specialist in environmental management and he has PhD in environmental sciences. He has been editor of scientific journals. At this moment, he is professor of environmental engineering, industrial engineering, and master programs in urban engineering at the University of Medellin. His areas of interest are consumer behavior, urban sustainability, quantitative methods applied to mixed research, and society-environment relations. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure having both of you sharing your knowledge with us in this congress, in this conference. First of all, to start our session, I ask if Professor Tamar would like to start our works with your presentation, please.
Thank you very much, Professor Amarilis, and good morning, Brazil. What I want to present today are just a few highlights from very large scope research that is on the topic of pedestrian perceptions of streetlights, mainly in residential neighborhoods. And my lecture will focus on actually how much lighting is required in order for pedestrians to feel safe while they're walking through the streets at night. So why is it important? We know from many previous studies that public space lighting has many benefits and it's essential for our well-being. If it's adequately designed, it can promote our well-being, our feeling of safety, it increases our comfort in the public spaces, it defines spaces, it forms neighborhood identities, etc. The problem is that at present, all public space lighting all over the world is designed according to various acceptable standards. There can be local standards, there can be national standards, international standards, but we're talking about technical standards, which can be efficient from a technical point of view, but we do not know how much they really represent the contextual conditions, I mean the local conditions where they are applied, and how much they represent residents' lighting preferences and needs in those places. So we don't have actually the user's point of view in the planning and design of street lighting systems. So that was our the main point that we started from. And we know that if the street lighting is insufficient, it might decrease pedestrian sense of safety. Of course, it can it affects their feeling of comfort, especially in urban areas. On the other hand, if this lighting is excessive, it may place quite a heavy burden on the urban economy. It can lead to energy inefficiency, energy waste, and of course, it can pose various health risks to humans and to other organisms. And there are many publications about these problems. So the main knowledge gap that we wanted to tackle here was to understand the relationship between the feeling of safety, what we call FOSS, and the public space lighting, the PSL. So we need this relationship needs to be further investigated in order to be able to promote a policy and practice that is more evidence-based, more knowledge-based. So the particular study objectives of this particular study, as I said, it's part of a much larger scope study, but I'm going to focus on the feeling of safety. And the particular objectives were to examine what are the levels of public space illumination that pedestrians that use these streets actually need in order to feel sufficiently safe. We're not talking about maximum safety, we're talking about sufficient safety, and we are focusing on urban environments. Another objective was to examine whether these minimal illumination levels differ across different urban settings, or are there uniform needs in various cities, in various residential areas. We know that there are various factors that can affect pedestrians' feeling of safety. These may be locational factors such as climatic factors, cold countries, warm countries, various cultures, the vegetation density, whether the vegetation obscures the street lighting or not, what are the surrounding land uses, what is the size of the public space, what is the traffic intensity on the street where the pedestrians are walking, and et cetera, the various locational factors, contextual factors that might affect pedestrians' feeling of safety. There are also various temporal factors that might affect this feeling, such as which season we're talking about. Is this summer when the night is clear, or we're talking and the sun sets at a later hour, or we're talking about winter, may be rainy, it may be foggy, so visibility is not that clear. And also it depends on the hour of the evening. Is it early hours or these are the late hours of the evening? The feeling of safety might change from the early hours to the late hours. And also we know that there are individual factors that may affect our feeling of safety, of course, gender and age, education, etc., etc. So this is just, of course, a partial list of factors that may affect feeling of safety, and we need to understand these factors. Our study was conducted according to three main stages. At the first stage, we wanted to select cities and neighborhood in which we're going to do our survey. After we're selecting those neighborhoods, we have to also select particular routes in each neighborhood where observers are going to go to walk through those streets and report their assessments. This was the first stage. At the second stage, we did two things that could be conducted parallelly. One was to measure by professional devices the actual attributes of the street lighting. For instance, its intensity, the color of the light, uniformity, glare, etc. And for that, we use professional equipment. And at the same spots that we measured all the various attributes, we recruited observers to walk the streets in the evening and to use, we developed a special application for mobile phone that observers could use in order to report their assessments of various attributes of the lighting and also their feeling of safety in each one of these points and also their feeling of the overall comfort of the street lighting. The last stage was we tried to model the association between the attributes that were instrumentally measured and the assessments of the observers of their feeling of safety, and to see if it can be modeled. So the first stage, as I said, was selecting the sites where we're going to conduct our research. We selected 3 cities in Israel, which differ by various variables. We selected Tel Aviv, Haifa, and Beersheba, which differ by population size. The largest city is Tel Aviv, the smallest city is Beersheba, and Haifa is somewhere in the middle. They differ by climatic conditions. Tel Aviv is very hot and humid during the summertime. It's located on the coastal shore of the Mediterranean. Haifa is located on mountains, also on the coast of the Mediterranean. And Beersheba is an arid city located inland, and it's characterized by very bright light during the day and much less dense vegetation, much less obscuring vegetation of street lights. They also differ by socioeconomic status. The highest socioeconomic status is in Tel Aviv, and the lowest is in Beersheba, and Haifa is in the middle. And by street crime rate, which is the highest in Beersheba and the lowest in Haifa, and Tel Aviv is somewhere in the middle. In each of these cities, we selected between 3 to 4 densely populated neighborhoods. Altogether, we selected 10 neighborhoods, and we applied additional selection criteria, which included the neighborhoods had to be predominantly residential, densely populated, with multi-story buildings, which are typical examples of the new buildings in Israel. Most of the new neighborhoods are built with multi-story buildings. We're talking about future planning, so we focused on this type of building morphology. We also focused on buildings that were constructed in the past 2 decades, and we looked for, we tried to keep the socioeconomic status in each city as constant as possible. We also, in each city, we chose neighborhoods that represent different combination of light intensity and light color, and I'm going to elaborate on how we did that. And this was selected by using nighttime satellite data. So, starting with using the satellite images, in each city, we looked for the 4 most typical cases of outdoor illumination. And the cases are actually combination of light intensity and light color. So we had to differentiate between blue and red light color and between high intensity and low intensity. So we have 4 optional combinations like red high, red low, and blue high and blue low. We use satellite images in order to map the various residential areas with those combinations. So we had many neighborhoods to choose from, and so we moved to the next selection criteria. This is just an example of the measurements. The next selection criteria were population density and also the socioeconomic status. So, as I said, we were looking for neighborhoods which are mostly residential, with high density, high-rise building, and similar socioeconomic status, at least at the same city. So, after mapping those things, we selected in each city between 3 to 4 neighborhoods. In each neighborhood, we selected a route that the observers were supposed to follow and report from points along the route their feeling of safety this particular lighting conditions. And in each neighborhood, we had approximately 30 points where observers had to report from. They were located at intervals of 20 to 30 meters between them. And we tried to select routes which were continuous as possible and round as possible. And we also tried to locate the measurement points near to local landmarks so people can easily identify those points. We also provided them with very detailed instructions how to find each one of the points and even pictures of the landmarks. And observers had to go alone at different hours of the evening and report their assessment of various lighting attributes and also their feeling of safety. These are just examples from different neighborhoods, and this is example these are the location of each point. We established exact location of each point because our application was location based on GPS, and we entered those points to make sure that observers are reporting from the exact point that they're supposed to report from. As I said, in the next phase, we did 2 things parallelly. We did instrumental measurements, which were, we measured various parameters like the level of illuminance, light temperature, which is light color, the dominant wavelength, spectral illuminance, glare, etc., and we did various measurements types, horizontal, vertical, along the route, back to the route, to the side of the route. We followed various protocols in order to do that. I'm not going to elaborate on that. This is a very technical information. All measurements were conducted under clear weather conditions after dark. And this table just summarizes the various measurements that we've conducted and the devices that we use and the protocols that we followed in order to conduct these measurements. And this is an example of data that was achieved with these measurements. This refers only to a particular point. Altogether, we had 10 neighborhoods. We had 257 points in all the neighborhoods altogether. However, as I said, these were instrumental measurements, and which are considered objective. And we started from the point that these measurements alone might not sufficiently represent pedestrian preferences and their feeling of safety, their actual feeling of safety. So we needed to assess that from the user's point of view. So for that, we developed ad hoc a special application for mobile phones. It's called City Lights. It was designed. I'm going to show you in a minute a few screenshots of this application. We've recruited 50 observers in each neighborhood, which had to follow the server routes. And this application could only be accessed if the participants were registered and authorized by a professional server agency, which recruited those observers. And each observer had to assess various attributes of the lighting, for instance, intensity, uniformity, glare, color, etc., and also to assess his feeling of safety and its feeling of overall comfort at each point. And for that, he has to use a 4-point Likert scale. Observers had to report 2 seasons, winter and summer, which are different climatic conditions, and at different hours of the evening. The same observer could not report at the same 2 different seasons and at the same neighborhood, because we didn't want the bias of, because people are familiar with the neighborhood and so forth. This application enables to assess, it enables to record, and it enables to transmit in real time all those assessments. And everything is accumulated in the cloud. So we could, at every point, at every moment, we could use this information and analyze it. These are some screenshots from the application. The application is called City Light. This is the icon that we developed. This is the entrance screen where any observer had to enter his ID number, which is something that was allocated in advance. The next screen, he had to stand at the particular point, and if he's not standing at the particular point, this particular screen would not open. So we had to move around a little bit in order for the screen to open. And then he had to use all these scales in order to assess the light intensity, color, uniformity, glare, overall quality, and his feeling of safety. And he just had to choose where he wants to be on this, what he thinks the light, the intensity, and so forth, and to choose on a scale of between 0 and 3, 4 options, a 4 Likert scale, the option that represents his perspective. Once he finishes this assessment, he has to submit the information, and then he can move to the next point. Otherwise, he cannot move. And again, he has to do that to about 30 points along the route. This is just an example of the data that is accumulating. We're talking about tens of thousands of assessments, a lot of data that has accumulated. And the next point was we tried to model the relationship between the feeling of safety and the various variables that can affect it. And of course, I'm not going to elaborate on this model too much. What I want to show you are the interesting findings from this research. Just to explain what this figures shows, the x-axis is the illumination level in lux, while the y-axis is the sense of safety. as I said, the sense of safety could be assessed on a scale between 0 and 4. Here we just focused on the assessment levels that were actually reported, that was between 1.2 to 2.4. The red line represents the assessments in Haifa, which is the northern city that is built on a mountain. The yellow line, the green line, represents Tel Aviv, which is also a coastal city in Israel, located on the shore, but it's very flat. And the blue line represents Beersheba, which is the arid city. And as I said, they differentiate in the population size, socioeconomic level, rate crimes, and so forth. The broken line represents in each city the average feeling of safety that was reported by the observers. And you can see that the highest average feeling of safety was reported in Haifa, which is the smaller city. It is a hilly city on the Mediterranean coast. And the lowest feeling of safety was reported in Beersheba, the arid city. And Tel Aviv was somewhere in the middle. So a feeling of safety was between 1.89 to 2.07 in the various cities. Another thing that was interesting is, if we take Tel Aviv as the average feeling of safety that is sufficient, we can see that in order to achieve this level of feeling of safety, we need in Haifa, here you can see in Haifa, we need only 5.7 lux, while in Tel Aviv, we need about 10.5 lux, and in Beersheba, we need 24.5 lux. That the meaning is that in order to achieve the same sense of safety that is average in Tel Aviv, we need in Beersheba more than twice illumination level than in Tel Aviv, and more than 4 times than the illumination level that is needed in Haifa. Another interesting thing is that in order to achieve the highest illumination level, the average illumination level that was reported in Haifa, we need about 15, in Haifa we need about 15 lux. In Tel Aviv, we need about 28 lux, and in Beersheba, we need above 50 lux. So these are very, very significant differences. Another thing that this figure demonstrates is that there is a diminishing level of feeling of safety that is gained from additional level of illumination. When we reach a certain point, the line becomes a little bit flat, so it doesn't matter how much do we increase the level of illumination, the feeling of safety will not change much. So these are the main insights. Our main conclusions from the study are that the brighter the better is a common misconception. And this may lead to unnecessary energy waste. As the research demonstrated, higher level of illumination do not necessarily imply an equal rise in feeling of safety. We saw that reasonably sufficient feeling of safety may be achieved at relatively low illumination, or levels of about between 5 and 10 lux, for instance, in Haifa. and that increasing illumination level beyond this threshold will result only in a minor rise in feeling of safety levels. So we have to question, is it really necessary, all this energy waste? Another conclusion is that another misconception is the one size fits all. And we saw that illumination levels that are required for providing sufficient feeling of safety differs across cities, and we attributed the lower levels of feeling of safety and the need for higher levels of or for more intense illumination in Beersheba. We attributed that to the relatively low social economic status in Beersheba, and to somewhat higher crime rates. Another thing that might explain that is that people who live in arid cities are much more accustomed to brighter daylights. So they need brighter lights also at night. This was demonstrated in research that focused on indoor lighting. And we think that these findings have significant implications for increasing energy efficiency and monetary savings. And in our follow-up studies, we're trying to estimate those potential savings, at least at these cities, based on data on annual energy consumption in these cities and the prices of energy. So we assume that those municipalities can save a lot of money, millions of dollars each year on street lighting. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Tamar. It's a very, very good presentation. Thanks for bringing us this important issue to our focus in a technical approach into public policies, connecting also smart and sustainable cities. It's very, very interesting. I think that research can help it taking decisions to better build the public policies. It's very, very useful for our discussion. Thank you so much. I would like to hear from Fredy. Fredy, thank you for sharing with us your acknowledgement in this field of research. You are a specialist of environmental issues. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Amarilis. Good morning in São Paulo. São Paulo is a city that I live in my heart. I love São Paulo. And good afternoon to Tammy in Haifa. I'm so grateful for this invitation. For us in University of Medellin, it's a really honor to be here. I want to talk about some ideas related with proposal or formulation of environmental policies. I want to offer apologies to Tammy because my presentation is in Spanish, and Amarilis talked to me that we don't have translation between Spanish and English. And Tammy, I hope that my slides could be clear enough to you. Okay? So let's get. Deseo empezar con la noción de gran aceleración. The Great Acceleration representa una contradicción evidente, una contradicción muy difícil para la sostenibilidad y para pensar la sostenibilidad. ¿Por qué ocurre esto? Voy a salirme de acá y a mostrar unas cuantas gráficas que lo ilustran. La esperanza de vida, life expectancy, se incrementa fundamentalmente desde la revolución industrial hasta nuestros días, pero particularmente desde la Segunda Guerra Mundial. ¿Cómo decir que una mejor esperanza de vida no es buena? Una esperanza de vida mayor la consideramos como un signo de que las cosas están muy bien. Entonces, estamos bien porque vivimos más años. Estamos bien porque consumimos más energía, pero al mismo tiempo, esa energía nos trae algunos problemas relacionados con emisiones de CO2, por ejemplo. Estamos bien porque la economía crece año tras año y el Producto Interno Bruto se incrementa en los diferentes países y a nivel mundial. Pero, ¿qué significa esto en términos de, por ejemplo, contaminación por plásticos? ¿Qué significa esto en términos de agotamiento de especies? Entonces, la gran contradicción es, vivimos en la mejor época posible para el Homo sapiens. El Homo sapiens nunca había disfrutado de tanto bienestar y de tanto acceso a recursos y bienestar. Pero al mismo tiempo, vivimos en una época en la cual tenemos la mayor cantidad de problemas ambientales posibles. Y esto es, por supuesto, una tragedia. ¿Cómo las políticas públicas pueden ayudar a resolver esto? ¿Cómo las políticas públicas se formulan en medio de esto? Otra de las contradicciones que plantea la gran aceleración es que la sostenibilidad nos dice que lo central es o son las necesidades. Pero las necesidades se tienen que debatir entre dos lógicas. Por un lado está la lógica de la sostenibilidad como tal, que nos induce a repensar nuestros límites, repensar nuestro confort, repensar qué es lo que entendemos por bienestar y calidad de vida, por un lado. Pero por otro lado, tenemos que las mismas necesidades acá nos hablan de que tenemos derecho al bienestar, al confort, a la calidad de vida. Y simplemente son dos realidades que se contraponen. ¿Sobre cuáles bases deberíamos formular las políticas ambientales? Primero que nada, las políticas ambientales deben hacer un reconocimiento de que el ambiente es un escenario de conflicto. Cuando decimos que el ambiente es un escenario de conflicto, eso quizá no lo entienden de manera muy frecuente las personas en los medios de comunicación, quizá en las redes sociales e incluso en la enseñanza. A veces tenemos una visión romántica del ambiente, una visión idealizada del ambiente. A veces creemos que el ambiente es un punto de encuentro fácil y todo lo contrario. El ambiente no es un punto de encuentro fácil. El ambiente es el resultado de las contradicciones entre diferentes agentes y diferentes grupos de interés. Ninguna política ambiental deja satisfecho a la totalidad de actores sociales involucrados. Ninguna. Todas las políticas ambientales dejan ganadores y dejan perdedores. Dejan gente en medio que está satisfecha, pero también deja gente en los extremos que no está satisfecha. El ambiente es relativo. El ambiente es una construcción histórica. El ambiente tiene diferentes valores de acuerdo con los diferentes grupos de interés a los cuales estemos refiriéndonos. Por lo tanto, podemos aseverar que el ambiente es una construcción compleja que requiere muchos acuerdos sociales para poder llevar a cabo políticas ambientales. La sostenibilidad, esta es otra base para poder hacer políticas ambientales, y es que la sostenibilidad es una urgencia. La sostenibilidad nos demanda que debemos actuar de inmediato. que debemos actuar ahora mismo. Pero lamentablemente la sostenibilidad solo puede ser resuelta en el medio y en el largo plazo. Entonces tenemos una contradicción de temporalidades. Sabemos que debemos actuar ya mismo, pero los indicadores de contaminación, los indicadores de calidad del aire, los indicadores de agotamiento de especies nos dicen que el mundo necesita acción, pero cuando intentamos hacer la acción, nos encontramos con que tenemos una brecha tremenda entre lo que la gente piensa y lo que la gente puede hacer. I try to talk in English for Tammy about this idea. We have a really or a great gap between values, for one side, values, attitudes, and the other side, behavior. So we can have great values, great environmental values, great environmental attitudes, and you can measure that values and that attitudes. But when you try to measure environmental behavior, the environmental behavior is poor. So that's a contradiction, a real contradiction, a big contradiction, which is a temporality contradiction to gain sustainability, to get sustainability. Return to Spanish. Entonces, esa contradicción hace que tengamos fuertes problemas para entender en qué momento se produce la sostenibilidad. Por eso es que tenemos que fijar metas, por eso es que tenemos que fijar horizontes de tiempo. 2030 parece ser un año en el cual deben ocurrir cosas para que podamos entender que ganamos en sostenibilidad, pero para 2030 apenas faltan 10 años. 2050 parece ser la fecha límite de la cual no podemos pasar sin tener los acuerdos globales necesarios. Pero eso no lo hemos logrado resolver de manera fundamental. ¿Sobre cuáles otras bases tenemos que generar o tenemos que ganar en acuerdos para hacer políticas ambientales? Tenemos que tener la capacidad de anticipar las consecuencias y el sentido del cambio. Para eso sirve la gestión del conocimiento. Nosotros necesitamos tener el mejor conocimiento posible con la circulación más democrática posible para poder anticipar hacia dónde van a ir las tendencias. ¿Cuáles son las tendencias de cambio que son detectables en el medio y en el largo plazo? Variabilidad climática, por ejemplo, restricciones económicas, por ejemplo, pero también la aparición de nuevos materiales y de nuevas tecnologías, por ejemplo. ¿Hacia dónde nos está llevando la densificación de las ciudades? Todos estos son elementos tras los cuales tiene que haber una circulación muy fuerte de conocimiento, tiene que haber una apropiación lo más amplia posible de conocimiento para que los diferentes actores involucrados consigan generar acuerdos mínimos para formular políticas ambientales. ¿Sobre cuáles otras bases deben establecerse las políticas ambientales? Tenemos que encontrar puntos de nivelación, porque existen muchos intereses ambientales diferentes en el mundo. There are very different needs and interests in environmental issues. For example, water, food, energy supply, housing, clothing, recycling, for example, leisure, telecommunications, mobility. We have different priorities. For example, in my city, in Medellin, the main priority is air quality. Medellin is a city that lies in a small valley, okay? And we have several problems of air pollution year by year. in March and in September in a normal year. So our priority is air quality. But in other places, for example, in Bogota, our capital, the big environmental issue is water. Why? Because Bogota is located in a high mountain, okay, in which the water resources are few. Return to Spanish. Entonces, tenemos que encontrar el punto en el cual podemos nivelar cuáles son esos acuerdos necesarios dependiendo de cómo es la configuración ambiental de cada lugar. No se regula lo ambiental de igual manera. Otra base para hacer políticas ambientales es que necesitamos involucrar una variedad de actores y emplear la mayor cantidad de instrumentos posibles. Y para esto necesitamos una capacidad creativa impresionante. Necesitamos generar investigación, ciencia y datos, pero que estén disponibles para el público, a los cuales la gente puede acceder. Tenemos que generar, here we're talking about, estamos hablando aquí de diálogo de saberes, estamos hablando aquí de cómo las diferentes personas conversan alrededor de diferentes temas, pero no solamente las personas, las empresas, los intereses del capital, los intereses comunitarios y por supuesto el Estado con el ejercicio de autoridad. Pero también necesitamos innovar en diseño. For example, here we need innovation, strong innovation. En esas cosas va a ser muy difícil la formulación de políticas ambientales. Necesitamos también usar un lenguaje de tipo adaptativo y de aprendizaje permanente. Lo ambiental se caracteriza por ser un escenario fuertemente cambiante. Lo que hoy es importante en materia de intervención ambiental, mañana puede tener ciertos cambios. Hay ciertos problemas ambientales que pueden permanecer en el tiempo y agravarse. Es el caso de la provisión de agua en la ciudad de San Pablo, por ejemplo. La provisión de agua en San Pablo es un asunto recurrente que año tras año parece que está más grave. Pero hay otros lugares en donde el escenario cambia. Por ejemplo, acá en la ciudad de Medellín, nosotros tenemos aportes de las arenas del Sahara. Here, time in Medellin, time by time, year by year, we get Sahara sands. The Sahara sands visit to us every year, but in some years, the Sahara sands are more problematic than other years. For example, in this year, we get 3 days of dark because the Sahara sands. And we are located near Caribbean, for example. Las arenas del Sahara viajan muchos kilómetros, llegan hasta acá y nos cambian la configuración de la calidad del aire de repente. Estamos cerca de la zona de huracanes en el Caribe. En este momento hay actividad de huracanes fuerte en el Caribe y la actividad de huracanes en el Caribe cambia la configuración de nuestro clima. En este momento nosotros en Medellín tenemos muchas lluvias como resultado de cambios en la composición del tiempo porque por el Caribe están pasando huracanes y eso no es algo que podamos controlar, eso simplemente se presenta. Entonces, si no tenemos capacidades adaptativas que nos permitan aprender de manera permanente, e incorporar el cambio, ser capaces de plantear metas e indicadores en el corto, mediano y largo plazo, pero también, si es necesario, desaprender lenguajes para apropiar otros. Sin esas características, va a ser muy difícil que podamos formular políticas ambientales. Esas eran las ideas que tenía para compartir con ustedes. Entendí que entendí que uno de los focos de discusión era esto, cómo nos acercamos a una mejor formulación de políticas ambientales, y a partir de mi trabajo se me ocurrieron estas pocas ideas para compartir. Thank you so much, Amarilis. Thank you, Amy, for your attention. And sorry again for my language.
Thank you, Fredy. Gracias. Very good presentation. Both speakers bring important issues related to using knowledge management into public policies. The first, Tamar brings a technical vision, and Fredy brings us a planning or also governance vision, okay, of this problem. Professor Tamar shows that good technical research can save energy and money and can use in public policies, I think. And Fredy explores Colombia's need. They are very similar with our needs, Fredy. We are very closely countries, and we are neighbors. I would like to explore more your experience, both experience from these countries. I would like to introduce two questions for each one. Professor Tamar, how do you believe that management of urban sustainability can be better integrated in environmental policies? Is it real in Israel? Can you explore more this subject with us? And Fredy, you brought the picture of design thinking, our needs, né? Nuestras necesidades y nuestros ensueños, né? Our desire to better plan our country, our policies, our planning policies. Do you believe that we can solve or manage our conflicts for producing reasonable or fair environmental policies? Can you explore more about your experience in this sense from Colombia? Thank you so much. Okay, who starts?
Can you please repeat the question? Can you please repeat your question?
Okay, of course. My question is, how do you believe that I read that your focus of your research is in management of urban sustainability. You brought a piece of your research for us today. Do you believe that management of urban sustainability can be better integrated in environmental policies? I would like to explore if in Israel it's real. Do you believe that your work can, in fact, have some influence in public policies related to environmental issues? Please, Tamar, can you explain for us?
I can bring you examples even from this particular work. And when we started this research, first thing we did, we wanted to meet the practitioners in Tel Aviv municipality and Haifa municipality that are involved in the design, the planning and the design of the street lighting installation, in order to understand if our research is something that they are interested in. And we were very surprised to find out that they were very excited about our findings. They were very excited about the research. They wanted to be involved. They even wanted us to do follow-up research in particular neighborhoods that they will choose because they have complaints that they get from residents, and they were interested to know what are the exact problems. And they agreed with us because most of the people who work there, they're engineers. They have, their technical knowledge, and they may know how to plan and design street lighting systems according to those technical standards. Yet they do not understand what people really need, what they prefer, what they need, when do they feel safe, when they feel comfortable, and so forth. And they realize that this knowledge is actually needed. And the planning approach should be changed. It should be more user-oriented. And this way you can achieve both user satisfaction, which the users, we're talking about the pedestrians, residents, visitors, whoever uses the public realm. And on the other hand, you can save a lot of energy. And, and this was also a window of opportunity because today, not only in Israel, I believe all over the world, many street lighting systems are going through retrofit processes, changing street lights, installing new systems, more smart system, which you can monitor from far away. And this, and by developing also this application, we also developed a tool that they can use in order to get information in real time of, users' preferences. And this also, they understood how important it is through this, because we also presented our findings to the municipalities. They understood how important it is to design streetlight systems which are flexible, which are adaptive to changing conditions and to changing preferences. Sometimes the residents change. Maybe it started at a particular time it was a residential area with families and children and so forth, and after a few years it becomes a residential area with elderly people. We prefer our different lighting conditions. And maybe the crime rates differ, they change over time and so forth, so people would prefer higher levels of lighting and so forth. So we found out that there's a lot of interest in our research. We started from the practice. We just went to the practitioners and asked them, we want to do this. We have the budget. We got a lot of budget from various sources, but will you be interested in the findings? And they were so excited about it that we published already a few papers from this research, and they all of a sudden they invite us to present the papers and to advise them what to do and what to change and so forth. So we found that it's a good way to start is sometimes go to the practitioners, just go to the people, ask them what they need. What do they worry about? And sometimes they don't even know what is the problem. So we just, we put the finger on the problem, and now they are so interested, and they consult us all the time. Of course, they don't pay for that, but it's free advice. But anyway, we don't have a problem with that because we're very happy that the research is not something that lies in only for scientists, but we managed to bridge the gap between knowledge and practice. And just by approaching decision makers. And I also have a lot of experience in consulting various planning committees as an environmental consultant. So this is an opportunity for me to provide my expertise, my knowledge, and to integrate it into the planning process. And I can feel that there's much more willingness and openness from planning committees today to environmental issues, and they give more emphasis to these issues. They place more importance on these issues, and I get to many of my advices are actually incorporated into the planning processes. They change plans, they change ideas, they sometimes they develop. I say maybe you should examine different new alternatives for the plan and so forth. And so I really managed to incorporate it into the processes. So I can see how we can bridge this gap through my work. But that's not always the situation. We know that the gap is still pretty large, and it's quite a challenge how to effectively use this knowledge and to apply it into current, into future projects. It's not something that is so easy. I'm shocked when I see the gap between the knowledge that already has accumulated and what happens in practice. I said, what's going on here? Why it's not transformed from, we accumulate so much knowledge and it's not transformed. What is the problem? Do we need to educate those decision makers more? Do they need more resources? Is the information not available enough? Where is the problem? What can we do in order to at least decrease the gap? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a very good answer it's a very multifaceted question. But do you believe that public hearings have an important place in public policies related to environment, even in a situation that we need a technical support for taking these decisions?
I think that the public is not heard enough. It's not involved enough in the planning processes and decision-making processes. Actually, the building and planning law in Israel, for instance, demands public participation. But what is called public participation is actually people are not really involved in the process. They are more heard. It's not public, it's not real public involvement. I mean, they can do some public hearings during the planning process and invite the public, the interested public, to come and, to state its opinions. But we never know how much those opinions are really incorporated into the process. Because usually it's just one stage. It's one stop. It's during the planning phase. Only at one stage, the law demands that the public will be involved during the very initial stages of planning, and afterwards, the next point where the public can be involved is during the planning process when he can reject a plan, and he has to have a very good reason in order to reject to a plan. So object to a plan, sorry. So the public is not really involved, for my experience. And I'm also involved in planning, in the preparation of plans, and I see that it's not real. The public does not really contribute as it should have. It doesn't get the chance to contribute. It can, but it doesn't get enough chance to do so.
Great. It's the same situation here.
I believe it's the same everywhere. Very few places, I think it might be a little bit different. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Professor Tamar. Fredy?
Bueno, entendí que tu pregunta, your question is related with successful environmental policies here in Colombia. What can we share, for example? That's the meaning of your question, really. So, en Colombia, y particularmente en mi ciudad, en Medellín, se han hecho cosas que ofrecen esperanza. We have many reasons for hope in our environmental policies. If our main problem is air quality, we construct a public system for information about air quality, accessible for all, for any person. Cualquier persona en la ciudad de Medellín puede acceder a datos de calidad del aire. This is an example. Our public system in air quality is called CIATA. And that system provides information in real time for any citizen. Any citizen can access that information y puede entender cómo está la calidad del aire en su entorno. Por ejemplo, acá mismo, donde yo vivo, yo puedo saber cuál es la calidad del aire en tiempo real para mí. For example, Tammy, I live here in that point. I live here. I'm here right now. And my question is, how is my air quality in my environment right now? Oh, so I can click in that cloud, for example, and in a color code, I can know that the air quality is medium, for example, and I can take decisions about mobility or walking or something, or do exercise, okay? Y este es un logro para nosotros, haber tenido este acceso que es con la mejor ciencia posible a estos datos. Por ejemplo, esa es una política exitosa. Other successful policy is public bicycles. We have a strong system of public bicycles named Encicla, yes? And that system covers a lot of portions of my city. You can get a bicycle for an hour or 2 hours for free, and the municipality pays for the bicycles. Esta es la red de bicicletas que tenemos. Esto ha contribuido mucho para la calidad del aire y es un gran logro que tenemos en cuanto a política pública. Otra política pública que tenemos es que nuestra flota de BRT es con vehículos eléctricos. Nuestro sistema se llama Metro Plus. Our system of public buses, omnibus, BRT, TAMI, are electric buses. Y todos los buses son eléctricos y recorren la ciudad solamente consumiendo energía eléctrica. Esto ha contribuido para que la calidad del aire en la ciudad de Medellín haya mejorado notablemente en los últimos 2 años, es decir, se pueden hacer cosas. Colombia tiene una política energética que apunta a que en 2 o 3 años tengamos un incremento del 10% en energías alternativas. Tenemos potencial de energía eólica, de energía solar, y se está incrementando la participación de esas energías en el mix de nuestra configuración energética. Tenemos también una política fuerte de áreas protegidas. Cerca del 50% de las áreas rurales del país son áreas protegidas. Y tenemos también otra clase de políticas muy fuertes, como por ejemplo la prohibición de plásticos. La prohibición de plásticos de un solo uso. Entonces, ¿hay razones para tener esperanza? Sí. ¿Falta mucho? También. Eso es.
Thanks, Fredy. I know Medellin has very good programs to improve local environment. Okay, congratulations for this these initiatives. I have one question more. In terms of international environmental policies, Brazil is the hot one, a very focused, a hot spot, okay? I would like to hear about you. Can you both share your vision, your opinion about Brazilian environmental policies as a world citizen? Who starts? I know it's a very difficult situation in terms of to use knowledge management about both of you explore the knowledge applied to develop public policies. As a person, a foreign person, what do you believe about Brazilian environmental policies? Do you have an opinion?
Pues mira, como lo vemos desde Colombia, Brasil tiene un gran problema con la Amazonía. La información que llega acá a Colombia es que en este momento en la Amazonía tienen una cantidad de intereses contrapuestos y que lamentablemente están ganando los intereses ligados a los ganaderos, a la expansión de la frontera agrícola, y esto se traduce en incendios, en pérdida de cobertura vegetal y en la amenaza a esa área que es la más interesante para el mundo, pero para América Latina en particular, por la capacidad de regulación climática, por el papel que juega en el cambio climático la Amazonía. Desde acá pensamos que si bien en la Amazonía son muchos los países que intervienen, Colombia también tiene una parte en la Amazonía, Perú, Bolivia, es Brasil el principal responsable de la gestión de la Amazonía por causa del tamaño, y consideramos que no se están consiguiendo, que no se está haciendo lo necesario por proteger la Amazonía. En otros frentes se parecen mucho a nosotros. En San Pablo conozco los esfuerzos de movilidad sostenible. En Río de Janeiro también conozco esfuerzos de movilidad sostenible muy interesantes, pero me confunde un poco lo que ha ocurrido con los últimos gobiernos y en particular con el gobierno de Bolsonaro. Y desde la distancia prefiero tener una reserva respetuosa porque sé lo complicado que puede ser opinar sobre una gestión en particular de un gobernante. Creo que están enfrentando amenazas serias. Creo que el giro a la derecha puede representar dificultades para implementar políticas ambientales sostenidas en el tiempo. Y así es como lo vemos. I want to ask you a favor, Amarilis. If you can translate some of my response to Tammy, please. A little ideas about my response.
Okay, I'll try to
Thanks.
translate it. Tammy, thank you, Fred, for your answer. Fred told us about his concerns related to Amazon area because we are neighbors to manage this big biome for very important to not only for South America but also for the world. It's the main issue of my question. Thank you for your answer. And of course, this subject is how can I explain? It's a very different from different kinds of government, and at the moment our concern is related to Amazon protection and how the lack of this protection can affect also Colombia and other places that share Amazon area with Brazil. I think is it correct, Fred?
Yes.
Okay. Tammy, can you hear your
Thank
opinion,
you. Actually,
please?
I was going to say the same thing in different words. Thank you for trying to translate it. I also think that looking at Brazil, I'm not very much familiar with other environmental issues in Brazil, which I believe are, not different than what goes on in Israel and in other countries. Everybody are concerned with climate change and air pollution and water pollution and so forth and so forth. But Brazil has a unique asset that no other country has in the world, and that's the rainforest. And unfortunately, this is just, we look at it, it's just disappearing in a very fast rate. And it's very, very frustrating, and it's very scary because of the importance of this rainforest, not only to biodiversity, which is very, very important, but also how it affects our climate and how it can escalate various processes which we don't even know what they can lead to. And as you probably that politics are governed. And we hear, I know what from what I read in the papers, that there's so many unfortunate decisions regarding the clearing of the forest, and there's so many things that are done illegally, and sometimes, and they're supported also by the government and by your president, and so that's at least what we read in the papers. And and there's a lot of pressure on Brazil, I believe, from international pressures and also from NGOs. All the time, I'm also a member of Greenpeace, so I get all the time in my email. They ask me to sign all kind of to state my objection to what goes on in Brazil. I don't know how much it affects. I don't know what is the public opinion in Brazil. How much. There's enough pressure on the government, how the public is really, how much can he be really involved in what's going on? What are the interests that rule there? But we only see the consequences, and they are frightening, I must say.
Thank you so much. It's a very difficult question. It's so difficult to speak about the public policies, mainly environmental public policies, without to talk about politics. It's not the focus of on our meeting, but it's natural. I have one question more. It's as a lecturer or a teacher, how do you support or engage your students to think or choose their skills, their abilities, their technical acknowledgement in public policies? Because I know we have in Brazil public policies specialists, but I think you teach in engineer and Fredy engineer as well, I don't know, but how do you support your students to think, to consider about to better create public policies related to environmental issues?
Well, can I start? Okay. I'm not teaching only engineers. I'm teaching MSc and PhD students, which come from various fields. So we also get engineers, but they come from various fields. There's no BA in this field of resource management. So everybody starts from a master degree. Anyway, what I always do in my courses, I promote, and I very insist about promoting critical thinking, analyzing current policies and criticizing them, and trying to, suggest other ideas, how to improve those policies. I usually in my courses, I don't give tests. I always ask students to choose case studies and analyze them to see what the policy says, what happens in practice, and they have to go out to the field and look what's going on. what was planned, what was implemented, where is the difference? And one of my courses, one of the courses that I teach is called Urban Ecology. And in this course, students are asked to choose, to select two neighborhoods, and to select a particular topic. For instance, I don't know, promoting walkability, or promoting energy saving, or promoting the protection of biodiversity in those neighborhoods. And I ask them to compare, and they have to go and analyze the plans. And first they have to review the knowledge. So what does the knowledge say? How does this knowledge infiltrate into the planning, and what happens in practice? And they are amazed. They say, how can it be where there's so much knowledge and nothing comes into practice? Says, okay, when we go out, when we start working, we want to use this knowledge in order to improve the planning. And I show them that actually knowledge does not integrate enough into planning. And even if something integrates into plans, sometimes it's not implemented in the field. And users are not critical enough even to understand what's wrong with the planning. Why the neighborhood is flooded during rain because they didn't leave enough open spaces for the water to infiltrate, or because there's not enough trees in the urban in the public spaces, so there's not enough shade, so people don't walk outside, and it's a very warm country, and so forth and so forth. So I think the best way is to confront them with the problems, to ask them to understand, to learn the knowledge, to review the latest publications in the field, to understand how things should be done, and then go and see what happens in the field. And this way, they become very, very critical. So I found that I get very good feedback that, say, okay, that was very, very mind-opening and practical.
Thank you. I agree with you. I try to use the same way. Okay, to motivate them. Thank you. Fredy, please.
Nosotros tenemos un enfoque que se llama aprendizaje basado en problemas. We have a method, Tammy, named problem-based learning. Es una forma de enseñanza, it's a way to teach. Nosotros escogemos un problema, we choose a problem, y lo analizamos entre varias asignaturas. Several professors and several signatures analyze the problem, okay? So the students must analyze the problem, related with social actors involved in the problem, and at the final of semester, the students must present solutions or small solutions and socialize them with professors and social actors. That's our strategy. Nosotros con eso lo que hacemos es intervenciones puntuales en la ciudad de Medellín, y si las ideas de los estudiantes son lo suficientemente poderosas y se pueden llevar a cabo, entonces se hacen pequeños proyectos, se busca financiación y se hacen iniciativas. Esa es nuestra manera de aproximarnos.
Good, Fred. Such as learning by doing. Our country have a big lab to apply this kind of methodology. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, our time is quite over. It was very interesting and useful for me. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure for sharing this section with you. Very nice to meet you, both of you. You are a very good person. I really enjoyed both presentations, both explanations. And I would like to, please, can you give us some final words in order to go to the final of our session, please? We start?
Hannah, you're the first.
Final words?
You start.
Okay, final words.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think knowledge management, talking about the overarching issue of knowledge management, it can provide the right knowledge. The question is how to provide the right knowledge to the right person at the right time. So it can be really usefully applied and really strengthen environmental governance at the end of the day. And we need to make a full and effective use of the knowledge and the learning that has accumulated, in order to and apply it to planning and design. And I think that maybe also the knowledge management research agenda with regard to environmental science policy interfaces, I think it needs a little bit to move away from identifying barriers, because I saw a lot of scientific publications in this field, they focus on the barriers. And I think we should move along towards the solutions, the more detailed investigation of how to overcome this implementation challenges, and to focus how to embed better this, and more systematically, this knowledge into the decision-making process.
Thank you. Fredy?
Bueno, como palabras finales, creo que la sostenibilidad depende de cooperar. Creo que la sostenibilidad depende de que nos veamos, de que nos conozcamos, de que compartamos ideas, de que entendamos que podemos tener colegas en diferentes países. I hope to talk with Tammy. We have similar interest. Y la necesidad de cooperar es lo que nos permite construir cosas. Entonces, agradezco este espacio porque nos permite cooperar. Agradezco porque creo que si no nos conocemos y si no entendemos lo que estamos haciendo unos y otros, pues va a ser difícil. A veces también es importante saber que lo que hacemos es muy parecido a lo que otros hacen, y eso da esperanza. Entonces, un evento como estos da esperanza y permite entender que hay un futuro por construir.
Thank you, Fredy. Thank you, Tamar. Okay, thank you. I can see Renata. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your presentation, for your time, for your efforts to share this great issue of research with us. Thank you so much. I hope to see you again soon. Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you all. And today, in the afternoon, we will have two panels about public administration as well. So I recommend you to attend those sessions. So those sessions will be with Márcio Albuquerque, will moderate a session. He's from the Federal Region Court of the First Region from Brasilia here. And also from Beatriz Barbosa from Metrô, São Paulo. She will moderate another session. So they will talk about discontinuity on the government, right? Knowledge management, the role of knowledge management on this discontinuity, and also the digital transformation. Okay, so in the afternoon, we also, busy afternoon we have. We have a session with three panels, moderated by Professor João Alexandre Pasqualin. He will moderate 2 sessions in the afternoon, and also Professor José Eduardo Staropoli, both from Universidade Nove de Julho. They will moderate 3 sessions in this afternoon. Very interesting themes. Also, we have a case track in the afternoon where lot of companies from Brazil, like Telefônica, Amazon, Embraer, Braskem, Softplan, Technip, FMC, they will show us their KM program and practice. So that will be very interesting sessions as well. So very hard to decide again. That's it. I would like also to invite you to participate and to be part of the session tomorrow regarding the KM panorama in Brazil. We have opened a survey in order to understand how is the knowledge management here in Brazil. So I really recommend you to participate on the session tomorrow. Tomorrow is an open session at 10:30. So come and be one of our multipliers on this collection of this survey, to collect the answers from this survey. That's it. Now we are back at 2 o'clock. So, and yeah, that's it. See you then. And I forgot one thing. Professor Fredy asked about how many was logged into their session. There were 360 people connected. So it's very, very good audience we are having here. Thank you all. See you soon. Bye.